What's up, everyone? My name is Tori if you're new here, and today we are doing a what's for dinner, and it's going to be a little bit different. Everything is under $5 here in this week's what's for dinner, and we are going to get creative with some of our leftovers. And I'm not going to overwhelm you or anything. We are just going to start out with basic mashed potatoes. I think most people love mashed potatoes. You all can make them in any way you possibly want to. You can add things, you can subtract things. There's just so many ways to make it. So I hope you enjoy this week's What's for Dinner, and make sure to subscribe if you have not. Let's get into the video. So you're going to start out with a bunch of potatoes. I'm going to peel them, and then I am going to dice them. Normally I'd steam them, but I was running low on time, so I decided to boil them in salted water. And I'm going to make some shepherd's pie for Monday night, and instead of green beans, I'm actually going to use some kale, onions, and carrots. And then I'm using this vegetable bouillon cube. You just need a tablespoon of that, some garlic powder, I'd say about 2 teaspoons of water, and then you can just put that in the microwave, or if you have time to put it on the stove, you totally could do that too. I cooked it for about 5 to 6 minutes, just until most of the veggies were soft. And now for my mashed potatoes. I'm adding some butter, pepper, and salt, and some of that cream cheese from Simple Truth. You can add whatever you would like to these, but these mashed potatoes are going to last us for a very long time. Now I am just doing 2 separate pans because I'm not putting meat on my pan and I'm putting meat on my husband's, but you can totally do this in whatever way you want. So I think everyone makes shepherd's pie differently. I like to layer mine this way, so I put a little bit of olive oil on the bottom of the pan, and then I start out with my mashed potatoes. I put a very generous helping of mashed potatoes on the bottom of the pan and smooth it out so it kind of gets to a 2-inch layer, we shall say. And now I'm gonna move in with my veggies. I really think these have a great flavor because of the veggie bouillon paste. It almost tastes like a gravy, so you don't really need a sauce for shepherd's pie. And sometimes shepherd's pie can be too drying for me, so I think this is a great alternative to adding some sort of gravy or animal fat. And I actually decided to add some quinoa to mine just to give it a little bit of a healthy spin. And then I did some ground beef for my husband. I usually just do the whole package of ground beef and do half for one meal and half for another meal in the week. And now I'm using this dough Crescent sheet. Normally these are super expensive, but this one was on sale for 99 cents. I don't know if I just keep getting lucky, but I keep finding them in like the discounted area of the grocery store. And I'm just going to cover each of the pies and try and make a tight seal around the edges just so everything marinates together in the oven. And then you can add a design on top like I did, or you can just leave it be. I'm putting a heart on my husband's just for fun, and I'm going to put a peace sign on mine, again, just for fun. So these are going into the oven at 400 for about 18 to 20 minutes. It definitely depends on how you like yours. Ours got a little bit crispy, but that is okay. We still ate it and it tasted amazing.
Honestly, I'm open wide.
All right, night number 2, we wanted to keep it pretty simple. I am going to be making some pierogis. I make these on my channel often, but I like to put different spins on them every single time. Please remember that all these recipes will be linked down in the description box below. I usually like to type them out for you. But you are going to need some of those mashed potatoes, you're going to need some water, flour, and salt, and you are going to need some herbs of your choice. So I'm going to use rosemary, and you're going to need about a cup of flour, I'd say 2 teaspoons of salt, and then that rosemary or whatever fresh herb that you'd like. Stir all those dry ingredients together, and then I have about 8 ounces of water. I usually only end up using 6 ounces, but I can eye it by now, so it's really up to your preference. My dough was a little bit sticky, but you will see when I roll it out, I add quite a bit of flour, so that's why I factor in the ratios the way that I do, but you'll just have to play around with the dough and how you want it to be done. And a pierogi is kind of like a Polish style or German style dumpling. There's usually potatoes inside of it. Here's my little life hack for you. If you roll out a bunch of stuff like myself, go to Home Depot or Lowe's and find a marble floor slab. They're about $6, but this is amazing because we do have wooden countertops and I don't like to mess them up. So I just put this on my countertop if I need to make cookies or roll out dough, which I do quite frequently. But you want to roll it out to about a 1/2 inch in thickness, and I just take a regular glass cup and these out into little circles. I take the excess and roll it out and then make some more circles. Now I'm just putting a teaspoon of my filling, which is just those leftover mashed potatoes we're using again, and I'm folding the dough over and then pinching the sides. In the meantime, you can have a pot of water boiling and you're just going to drop those pierogis in and then take a slotted spoon. Make sure they're not sticking to the bottom, and then you are going to just leave them in there until they float to the surface. Pierogis are fun like that. They just know when they're ready to go. And now I'm starting on my crispy broccoli. So I just steamed that broccoli in the microwave, and I'm adding pepper, garlic powder, and some salt, and then a little bit of olive oil, as well as some sriracha. And this was super spicy for me because, again, I'm a wimp, but I would suggest maybe putting half the amount of sriracha on this broccoli if you're anything like me. And now to crisp up the pierogis, you don't have to do this. This is just how we like them. You are going to put about a tablespoon of butter in your pan. This is definitely not the healthiest recipe. And you're going to put some onions in the pan along with some salt and pepper. I added a little bit of water to sweat those onions out, and now I'm pushing them to the side and putting my pierogis down. I like to fry them on each side for about 5 minutes until they get pretty crispy. Pierogis can be served with sour cream or applesauce or just plain, but I used some of that maple Dijon sour cream concoction that I made up. It just definitely adds a sweetness, really complements that rosemary, and we were so satisfied with these pierogis. We enjoyed them so much, we did not have any leftovers. And now this is just a quick little Wednesday night dinner. I didn't film the whole thing, but I am just using some of that buffalo dip from my Super Bowl appetizers video, and I'm putting that on the tortilla. My son wants icing, and I'm telling him here that we can't put that on the tortilla, but maybe we could have some later after dinner. And he's not the happiest with me right now, but that's okay. So we have quite a lot of dip left over. I like to use it in all kinds of different ways. So I'm going to put some of that ground beef on my husband's and some pepper jack. And then I'm just going to put some veggies with mine. I'm going to fry them on each side, kind of like a taquito. And then I am just serving up that boxed mac and cheese with some of those veggies, and that is going to be dinner for Wednesday. Now on to Thursday, we are having breakfast for dinner. We are going to make potato pancakes or potato latkes or whatever you want to call them. I had a feeling you'd come back and save me. And I'm going to add some kale to mine and some garlic. You don't have to add kale, we just like to add it when we can. And you're going to need some flour to thicken up those mashed potatoes. My husband and son are having eggs and some bacon, which I'm trying a different recipe, so you will see that soon. So go ahead and add in your mashed potatoes. I'd say about a cup of mashed potatoes. And then I am de-stemming my kale. So take all those leaves off of the stem, and I like to massage it in my hand just so it gets a little bit of bitterness out. And now I'm cutting it up. This is my famous way to cut vegetables. I like to say it's my lazy way of cutting vegetables. I'm adding my garlic powder, a little bit of salt and pepper, and then I'm adding about 4 tablespoons of flour. So go ahead and mix that all up. Why don't we go back to, never wanted to end things like we did. I'm sorry for all those promises I made you that I couldn't keep. But it's like something feels different from back then. Why don't we go back to, And now I'm doing my bacon. I got this idea from Karen from In the Kitchen with Karen. I will link her channel down below, but she adds brown sugar to her bacon and then she bakes it, and it was a wonderful idea. So thank you, Karen. Big shout out to you. And now I'm using a little bit of olive oil, and I'm forming little balls in my hand, and then I'm smashing them. These are our potato pancakes or potato latkes. You could definitely shred potatoes, but again, we were trying to utilize those leftovers. So we are still going with our mashed potatoes, and believe it or not, we had some left over, so that is going to contribute to Friday's dinner as well. While those are cooking, our bacon was ready. I love doing it this way because it came out flat, and my husband really enjoyed the flavor. Go ahead and cook those latkes on each side for about 5 minutes. You want a crispy side with a soft center. And then I am just going to make some eggs for my husband and son. My son doesn't really eat a lot, so I'm just gonna do 2 eggs, and this is how we like our eggs. You can cook them however you want. Adding some salt and pepper, and then I'm gonna flip it over. And this is how everything came out. So you can see my son has just a little bit of everything. My husband, I made a sandwich for him. And then I did some avocado toast with some everything but the bagel seasoning. And I topped mine with the Kite Hill sour cream. My husband gets these jalapeno cheddar buns from Safeway and really loves them. And then I added some cheese on the side of my son's. All right, and this is Friday night. We are making some pasta with some of this homemade vodka sauce. So we are starting out with those mashed potatoes and some basil. I'm gonna add some salt and some flour. So you are going to do about a cup of mashed potatoes and a cup of flour. And then I ended up adding a teaspoon of olive oil and about 2 teaspoons of water, and I came out with this consistency. Again, I am flouring that marble tile that I got from Home Depot. And I'm going to roll out my dough and add a little bit more flour to it. I end up letting the dough rest, and then I'm cutting it in half. You could freeze 1/2, or you could just make a bunch of pasta at one time. We love pasta in our house. I've never tried a gluten-free version of this, but I'm sure you could use arrowroot powder or chickpea flour, but you can really get so versatile with this recipe. You kind of want to make like a tube, and I'm going to first start out making gnocchi. I'm going to cut these into about 1 inch, and then I also end up cutting these in half and then forming them into the classic gnocchi style. And you could definitely roll these down a fork and make those lines if you want. I didn't end up doing that with all of them, but you could if you wanted to. And now you are going to take the other half, if you are using them both, and form it into a flat square. And I'm just making little fettuccine noodles for my son. He's not really a fan of gnocchi, but anything pasta noodle wise he's good with. So I'm just cutting these into 1/2-inch lines, and then I cut it in half. And now my chicken's going in the oven at 275, and I put some rosemary, salt, and pepper on that. And now I am dropping my gnocchi into some boiling water. I allow that to boil and the gnocchi to rise up onto the surface of the water, so very similar to the pierogis. And I'm just putting it on a frying pan and trying to get all that water out. I put about 2 teaspoons of really good olive oil in there, some salt and pepper, and a little bit more garlic. And I'm going to fry them on each side. You don't have to fry your gnocchi. This is just the way we like to have it in our house. And it's very tedious to flip them, but it's worth it in my opinion. So if you don't mind doing it, just try and flip each individual one. And I served my sons with some of that sauce, mine dry, and then I put some of the Violife provolone slices on top. And this was my husband's. The chicken baked for about 1 hour and 15 minutes on 275, and it came out super juicy, he said. I put his sauce on the side, and we really enjoyed this dinner. Alrighty, my friends, that is going to do it for this week's video. Let me know in the comments what your favorite recipe was. As always, stay adventurous, stay creative, and I will see you next time. Bye.